Meryl Streep is an icon. She holds the record for the most Academy Award nominations, and she's still acting at 72. Add to that her 4-decade-long marriage and 4 loving kids, and upon first glance, it may seem like she's lived the perfect life. Of course, just because Meryl has enjoyed a lot of success in her career doesn't mean that things have always gone her way in her personal life. Instead, when Streep's career was still taking off, she suffered a terrible loss, which could have easily derailed her career, as well as her personal life. In 1978, a young Meryl Streep was on the verge of becoming the most outstanding actor of her generation. Tragically, she was also about to lose the love of her life. Michael Schulman, who wrote one of her biographies, said that her life was so wildly eventful and dramatic at the time. It was instrumental in shaping who she was as a person and as an actor. Meryl Streep found her first true love early in life. At 27, she was a young woman in the New York theater world who met 41-year-old actor John Cazale when they both landed roles in the New York Shakespeare Festival production. Their connection was instant. At the time, Cazale was regarded as a rare talent and a man among the great directors of the era. He was Fredo in The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2. He was only in 5 movies, though all of them would be nominated for Best Picture, and 3 would win.
Funniest characters that he played. There was always something tragic in it. Even in the most tragic characters, there was always something very funny.
And then there were his unusual looks, so perfect for the misfits of the 1970s cinema. Streep fell for him instantly. He was equally knocked out. In looks and manner, he was utterly foreign to the young Meryl. He wasn't like anybody she'd ever met, and John was equally smitten. It was the specificity of him, his sort of humanity and his curiosity about people, his compassion that drove her in more than anything. Of the two, Cazale was the famous one, but they were still starving artists. He would take Streep to dinner in Little Italy, where restaurant owners, odd to have Fredo in the room, insisted they eat for free. The romance moved pretty fast, and they were soon living happily together in Cazale's Tribeca loft. The lovebirds were the envy of the New York theater world. Suddenly, he fell ill. He'd been feeling bad enough to miss performances. Within days, they were sitting in the doctor's office. The diagnosis? Terminal lung cancer. It had spread throughout his body.
I don't want the cancer.
John fell silent. For a moment, so did Meryl. But she was never one to give up, and certainly not one to succumb to despair. She looked up and said, "So where should we go to dinner?" Cazale dropped out of his play immediately. Streep was starring in the musical, and her castmates saw no sign of her anxiety or grief. The couple tried to keep the severity of his condition between them. Even Cazale's brother, Stephen, didn't realize how bad it was until one day after the 3 of them had lunch. John stopped on the sidewalk and spat up blood. Al Pacino took him to radiation treatments, sitting in the waiting room, hoping it wasn't as bad as it seemed. Cazale himself insisted he'd get better, and when he fought to go back to work, Streep took a part she loathed so that she could be with him. She was just the girl in the movie, essentially a man's view of a woman, Streep said. She was extremely passive, she's very quiet, she's someone who's constantly vulnerable. In short, she was everything Streep was not. But the film was The Deer Hunter, and the filmmakers fought to cast Cazale, even as the production company insisted he'd be fired. The insurance costs would be outrageous, and no one wanted to back a film with a terminally ill star. The director Michael Cimino said later that he was told that unless he got rid of John, they would shut down the picture. The story Streep would later tell, De Niro covered Cazale's insurance costs, which the actor had never confirmed or denied, but later said, "I wanted him to be in it." All Streep wanted to do was quit working and be with her love, but they were still struggling with medical bills. So the actor had to choose between spending more time with her dying boyfriend and paying the bills so he would actually live longer. How devastating. Reluctantly, she took a lead role in the miniseries Holocaust, solely for the money. It was filmed in Austria, and Cazale was too weak to go. Streep never complained, but quietly she agonized. The material was unrelentingly grim, Meryl later said. They shot on location at an actual concentration camp, which she found profoundly disturbing, especially in such a hard time. She spent 2.5 months in Austria, longer than she'd been told, separated from her beloved, each day another lost forever. Meryl was going crazy. John was sick, and she wanted to be with him. When she finally got back to New York, Cazale was worse than she'd ever seen him, and when it became clear he didn't have much time left, she took 5 months off from work so that they could spend as much time together as possible, even moving into the hospital during his final days. For 5 months, the couple disappeared. His cancer had spread to the bones and he was increasingly weak. She went with him to every doctor's appointment, every radiation treatment, and never betrayed a lack of hope. Speaking about her devotion, some viewed it as too extreme, and for others, she embodies the most prominent pillar of true love, selflessness. Streep later said that the time they had together, retreating into their cocoon, gave her a weird sort of protection. She was so close that she didn't notice the deterioration. She confided in very few people and wrote to her old drama teacher at Yale about her actual emotional state. "My beau is terribly ill," Streep wrote. "I'm worried all the time and pretending to be cheery all the time, which is more exhausting mentally, physically, and emotionally than any work I've ever done." In March 1978, John entered a caring facility and Meryl never left his side. Then on March 12th at 3 a.m., Cazale's doctor told Streep, he's gone. Meryl wasn't ready to hear it, much less believe it. What happened next, by some accounts, was the culmination of all the tenacious hope Meryl had kept alive for the past 10 months. She pounded on his chest, sobbing, and for a brief, alarming moment, John opened his eyes. "It's all right, Meryl," he said weakly. "It's all right." Then he closed his eyes and died. Streep's first call was to Cazale's brother, Stephen. She sobbed throughout. "I tried," she told him.
There was some foreboding thing. I think he saw something in the future. I don't know what it was, but he might have seen what happened to him.
The tragic loss weighed heavily on her, but that year Streep had success upon success. She won an Emmy for Holocaust, an Oscar nomination for The Deer Hunter, starred in a career-making role in Kramer vs. Kramer, which won her the Academy Award, and was cast in Shakespeare in the Park's The Taming of the Shrew. She had become a star. But John's death and her own suffering had transformed her as a person and an actor. For all her later accomplishments, 19 Academy Award nominations and 3 wins, her friends and fellow actors most admire Streep for her devotion to Cazale, for the strength of character such a young woman showed. A few months after her partner's death, Streep was kicked out of the apartment they had shared. Faced with the difficult task of packing up his belongings, she called on her brother for help. He, in turn, brought along a friend, sculptor Don Gummer, to lend a hand. As fate would have it, Streep ended up subletting Gummer's apartment since he was supposed to be in Pakistan for an extended holiday. The two began exchanging letters, then a motorcycle accident cut his plans short, bringing him home sooner than planned. While holding her 2-year relationship with Cazale close to her heart, Streep didn't allow its tragic end to stop her from moving forward, both in life and in love. Just 6 months later, in September 1978, the actor and the sculptor said, "I do." The wedding raised plenty of eyebrows, even straining Meryl's relationship with her mother, but no one could stop them from following their hearts. 4 decades of marital bliss and 4 kids later, Meryl and Don are a rarity in Hollywood. They're as happy as ever and have managed to keep an incredibly low profile, even moving to a secluded estate in Connecticut back in 1985. The few times that the Oscar winner has spoken about her private life, however, she's made it clear that one of the biggest keys to their long-lasting romance has been the fact that they're equals. Their relationship has never been a competition, and Don has never tried to outshine his wife's first love or career. He couldn't be more supportive. In addition to being her date to countless premieres and award ceremonies, Gummer helped his wife's career blossom by always being there for her. As Streep once said, "I couldn't even dream of being a mother and making movies without Don." That's because he was always happy to look after their kids so that she could be on set. In a rare moment in 2012, Streep revealed just how important Gummer has been in all aspects of her life, as she gushed about her husband while accepting the Best Actress Oscar for her role in The Iron Lady.
First, I'm going to thank Don, because when you thank your husband at the end of the speech, they play him out with the music, and I want him to know that everything I value most in our lives, you've given me.
As Meryl has shown the world, finding love again is not a matter of forgetting what came before. Instead, it's about celebrating that memory without allowing it to delay your growth, whether professional or personal.
You might remember Patrick Swayze from Dirty Dancing, but his real love story started way before he starred in the film. Patrick met Lisa Niemi when he was 18 years old, and she was just 14. Lisa always knew that she wanted to be a dancer, and began training in ballet from a young age. It turns out that Patrick Swayze's mother, Patsy, was actually Lisa Niemi's ballet teacher. Now, before you think that the pair set eyes on each other and it was love at first sight, think again. With a dancing teacher for a mother, Patrick grew up dancing and had fun showing off to other girls that used to come to the studio. However, he admitted that he found it difficult trying to speak to Niemi. It seems that his charms that worked so well on other women just didn't do it for Lisa. I knew she was the smartest chick I'd ever met in my life. I had been meeting girls with names like Niemi and Angel, Swayze said to People magazine. And for a long time, I didn't feel like I deserved her. Niemi made it clear that she didn't want a smooth-talking kind of guy. She wanted someone that was real, honest, and down to earth. Once the pair started having real conversations and Patrick opened up about what he wanted from life, she started to pay a little more attention to him. After a few dates, the couple knew that they wanted to spend the rest of their lives together, and they married in 1975.
There was something about him when I looked at him, what I saw was pure gold.
The wedding took place in the very same dance studio that Lisa had learned ballet. The two were completely inseparable, sharing the same passion for dancing, both getting their pilot licenses, and sharing a huge love for animals. Eventually, they moved to a ranch in New Mexico. Of course, the pair's biggest passion was for performing. While Lisa pushed for a career in dance, Swayze leaned more into the world of acting. Finally, in 1987, it was Dirty Dancing that gave Patrick the big break that he needed. Despite being a low-budget film, it ended up making a whopping $214 million at the box office. The actor shot to stardom, but remained humble, constantly giving thanks to Lisa for having played a large part in his early success. Quote, "I just felt at the time that I'm very, very lucky to have a woman who thinks I hung the moon." In fact, one song that Swayze co-wrote for the Dirty Dancing soundtrack, She's Like the Wind, was inspired by Lisa and his relationship with her.
Every time I sing it now, anywhere, and perform it, I have to dedicate it to Lisa.
But, like in any relationship, it wasn't all rainbows and sunshine. Patrick and Lisa also faced their fair share of rocky moments. In the early 90s, Lisa suffered from a miscarriage, which was heartbreaking for the couple, who were trying so hard to have a child at the time. Patrick mentioned, "I was born to be a dad." Unfortunately, the tragedy doesn't stop there. Soon after Lisa's miscarriage, Patrick's father died of a heart attack, and his sister died a few years later due to complications related to prescription medication. Unable to cope with all of the heartache, loss, and expectations from his career, the actor turned to drinking. Patrick's addiction to alcohol began to take a toll on his career, and he was soon sidelined by Hollywood. His marriage was also beginning to suffer, which allegedly resulted in numerous arguments, and the actor had no choice but to check himself into rehab. The couple spent the next year apart, taking the time to heal and take care of themselves after everything they had experienced. But the battle wasn't over yet. The couple still had a few challenges ahead left to face. In 2005, Lisa suffered yet another miscarriage, which left the pair in total despair. It seemed that it was their last attempt to conceive, as the two never went on to have any children. A friend close to the couple said that this was their deepest regret. And if the two hadn't experienced enough, in 2008, another tragedy hit the family, when Swayze was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The symptoms began towards the end of the previous year. He started to suffer from terrible pain, describing it as, quote, pouring acid, on an open wound. "I keep dreaming of a future with a long and healthy life, a life not lived in the shadow of cancer, but in the light," Swayze said at a Stand Up to Cancer event. Soon, the actor began to lose a lot of weight, and the doctors told him that his chances of surviving the disease were very slim. There was nothing the doctors could do because the tumor had spread too far. The news didn't stop Patrick from fighting the battle against cancer, and he chose to undergo chemotherapy. The couple did everything they could to make their time together more meaningful and special. Patrick and Lisa renewed their vows in the ultimate fairy tale ceremony as he rode up on a white horse, proving that their love was as strong and passionate as ever. "We did it very Prince Charming and Snow White," he told Walters in the last interview before he died. "It was like a fairy tale," Niemi added, "one of the happiest days ever." Niemi said that she had an immense amount of respect for her husband, and admitted that while she grieved throughout Swayze's cancer battle, she never showed him the pain that she was going through. "Every time he looked at me, I wanted him to know he was okay," she said. At just 57 years old, Patrick's fight for his life came to an end in 2009, when he succumbed to the disease after almost a 2-year battle.
He made it 2 years, which is unheard, very, very rare in his case.
His fans flocked to his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and laid flowers and cards in his honor. But there was no doubt that the person who was hit the hardest by his passing was his wife of almost 40 years, Lisa. Of course, it wouldn't be easy for Lisa to move on and heal from her indescribable loss. I thought during the 22 months of my husband's illness that it gave me time to get used to the idea of losing him, she added. And I found for myself when I actually got to that point, I said, no. That wasn't the same at all. The actual loss it's like an animal all on its own. She also admitted that her only regret is that she didn't tell Patrick that she loved him often enough. Even though she told him that she loved him every time she left the room when they were together, she still didn't feel like it was enough. While anyone else would have become a shell of a human being after suffering from so much loss, Lisa went on to prove that she was no ordinary woman. She went on to become the Chief Ambassador of Hope for the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, an organization dedicated to fighting the world's toughest cancer. She decided to do something in honor of Swayze, rather than let herself be crippled by her grief. Lisa and Patrick proved that love truly can conquer all. Despite all the suffering that they experienced, they loved each other throughout the dark times, supporting each other through it all. Lisa said, "Cancer may have taken him, but it never beat him." The actor was a fighter through it all, and his wife stayed with him, supporting him and holding his hand, right until the very end.
He was my hero, and he was a hero to his family, friends, and all of his loyal fans.
This is truly a love story that will go down in history. Patrick and Lisa went through an unimaginable amount of loss after loss, but they never gave up on one another, and that's what true love is really all about.
He's a director's dream, and he's the one who played a 10-year-old at 44. He is a brilliant comedian, Martin Short.
A whole gang of chocolate. I need it badly.
The actor has a special view of the world, particularly concerning how the terrible losses he survived as a teen impacted his life. But did it prepare Martin for losing the love of his life after 30 years of marriage? Martin Short is the youngest of 5, and it's the best position to be in, according to the actor. Everyone told him that he was the most brilliant, fascinating, adorable person. So even if he wanted to have self-esteem issues, it just wasn't possible.
Come with me and we'll talk all about our big day. The big day for the bride.
There was tremendous humor in the house growing up. A lot of laughing. But there was tragedy during his teenage years as well. First, when Martin was 12, his brother David died in a car accident. Then, when he was 17, his mother died from cancer. And 2 years later, his father died from a stroke. Whoa, we might need a minute here. The 71-year-old comedy actor harbors no bitterness and even views this heartbreaking trifecta as a gift of sorts. Martin believes that because he had such a solid foundation in life, the tragedy and loss didn't throw him sideways. Those kinds of situations are horrible, but I think that you are either empowered by them or you become a victim of them. According to Short, he was given almost an insight early into what life was, which is, whether we like it or not, we think the world has ended that day, but the sun goes up. Once, Stephen Colbert, his friend, went really far with his material at a White House Correspondents' Dinner. George W. Bush was not finding it funny at all. Martin said, "Weren't you scared?" And Stephen replied, "When I was 12, my father and 2 brothers were killed in a plane crash together. That day I was scared." And when he heard the story, he thought, "I know from what you speak." Strangely, the sadness early in life made him stronger and more resilient. And that insight helped Martin when his beloved wife Nancy Dolman died of cancer in 2010. The night before my wife died, I was in the jacuzzi with my son, and I told him, "This is the weirdest night for you because it's the worst night of your life, and yet you're being empowered," he recalls. Before his wife Nancy died, they were together for 36 years. But the actor says he would have been divorced 5 times if he hadn't found the right person.
We were together for 36 years. So at a certain point, you literally become one person.
Finish each other's sentences.
No kidding. Yeah.
He wouldn't have faked it and played a game just because he didn't want to be divorced. The whole story is recounted in Short's heartfelt memoir, I Must Say, My Life as a Humble Comedy Legend. The book tracks the comedy and tragedy of his rich and varied showbiz career, from working in Toronto in 1972 with Eugene Levy and Gilda Radner, to starring on Broadway and winning a Tony in 1999 and beyond. He gets brutally honest, even talking about his relationship with Gilda Radner, one of the 7 original cast members of Saturday Night Live. Martin dated Gilda on and off for a couple of years, and admitted he had difficulty understanding her struggles with insecurities and eating disorders. It caused a great deal of conflict for the couple. Nevertheless, they remained good friends, and it was Radner who championed her ex to producers as a cast member of SNL. Short's next serious relationship was with future wife Dolman, which lasted 36 years. "We really did have a great relationship," Short said. "We had a great time and the party continued from the beginning to the end." The actor is in no rush to marry again and has told friends not to set him up. "I go out. I'm not a monk," he admits. His career has been almost as successful as his love life. Short admits that it has been a case of wavering on the precipice of stardom. His first big film, Three Amigos, was not considered a hit, though it has become a cult favorite.
Justice, you will find us. Wherever there is suffering, we'll be there. Line.
Clifford, with Short playing a 10-year-old boy, performed miserably when released in 1994. But it has become something. The thing he's enjoyed the most about show business is that the smartest way to be in it for so long is not to take it personally. You just show up and you do an eclectic array of things, from commercials to radio to TV to movies. And that's the course of an actor. That's always been my career. Short is friends with heaps of celebrities. Every year he, Steve Martin, Tom Hanks, and producer Walter Parks have a colonoscopy together. We'll get to that, we promise. Still, his memories of Nora Ephron, who he describes as endlessly curious and fascinating, are particularly bittersweet. They were such good friends that the When Harry Met Sally screenwriter requested Martin to be the first speaker at her memorial service. Not only is he an absolute sweetheart around people in real time, but Short also doesn't include a single nasty story about anyone in his memoir. Not even a hint. He just doesn't like books that rip people to shreds. In the opening passage of his memoir, the actor describes a fight in 1977 with his partner, Nancy, who would soon become his wife. Short had just joined the Second City comedy troupe in Toronto. He had started to develop characters that made use of his compact physique and his ability to contort his voice and face with rubber band elasticity. One such character was Ed Grimley, an overenthusiastic dork in high-waisted pants. During the fight, which Martin notes was about nothing at all, as most relationship squabbles are, Nancy did something unexpected. She asked to speak with Ed rather than with Martin. He immediately transformed into his alter ego. When Nancy asked Ed what her boyfriend's problem was, he suggested that Martin was jealous of your beauty and wisdom and saddened by his own tragic limitations. He then added, although his endowment has certainly been blessed by the Lord. Nancy thanked Ed and told him to go away. The argument was over.
So that if we had a fight, my wife and I, she'd say, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I want to talk to Ed. I like Ed better. So I'd then become Ed and say, what's his problem, Nancy? Talk about self-indulgence, I must say.
The scene provides a small yet powerful window into Short's approach to life in comedy and in general. He's always going bigger, broader, rushing headfirst for the joke to break the tension. But his flamboyance carries sweetness and boyish play that has never really left him. Short seems as excited about his work today, at 71 years old, as he was when he first joined the cast of the Canadian sketch show SCTV in 1982. He is a beloved late-night show guest who is always trying to one-up his previous appearance. The moment for the special party is right here. Back in 2018, the legendary comedians, Steve Martin Short, as no one calls them, told Jimmy Kimmel that they'd get together with Tom Hanks and another friend for some fun the night before their colonoscopies. Of course, at this kind of party, everyone is a pooper. We thought everybody at our age. At a certain age, you want to get a colonoscopy, Martin said. We all came over, we played poker, and we watched some funny movie, and you drink all this stuff. They go through avoiding solid foods, consuming liquids, and clearing their bowels to get ready. There is a certain portion of the party that isn't so fun, though. What's shocking is with Steve. He's a wealthy man, Short said. Who would think he would have one bathroom? I thought the bathroom ended up looking like a Jackson Pollock, Martin added. The four friends share one car on the ride to get their colonoscopies the next day, playing cards to determine who has to go last for his exam. It's a great way to do something that you should do, Martin said.
Yeah, that's better if it's all men. You're having a colonoscopy party. Hey, you want to come to my colonoscopy party?
Short and Martin's friendship is palpable. Martin says that if he and his wife, the journalist Anne Stringfield, are planning a dinner party and Short can't come, we'll cancel the dinner party. Every generation gets its own Martin Short. Gen X kids know him from Three Amigos, in which he, Steve Martin, and Chevy Chase play out-of-work actors who are mistakenly recruited to fight Mexican gangsters. For millennials, he is a flamboyant wedding planner from The Father of the Bride. Now, Gen Zers can meet him in the Hulu comedy mystery series Only Murders in the Building. Short, along with Steve Martin and their unlikely co-star Selena Gomez, play true crime obsessives who decide to investigate a murder that has occurred in their fancy Manhattan apartment building. That's all we have for you today, Juicers.